I used to think my family was ordinary in the best way. We didn't have lake houses to fight over or money hidden in accounts. We had dollar store birthday cards, casseroles after funerals, and cousins who showed up with jumper cables at midnight. Then my father stopped breathing in front of a nurse. The hospital hallway smelled like sanitizer and burned coffee. His old brown jacket hung over a chair like HED only stepped away for a minute. When the doctor asked what Dad had taken, I reached under my seat and handed him the plastic grocery bag he'd found hidden in the kitchen cabinet. "Everything I could find," I said, my hands shaking. By sunrise, my sister was being questioned. My mother wouldn't look at me, and my aunt called me the son who had ruined his own father. But if I had kept quiet, would Dad still be alive? Before all that, Sundays at my parents' house had a rhythm I could set my watch by. I lived 20 minutes away in a one-bedroom apartment above a dentist's office, close enough to help, far enough to tell myself I was busy building my own life. Every weekend, I stopped for whatever Mom had forgotten: milk, bananas, a newspaper for Dad, then let myself in through the side door that always stuck. The house smelled like chicken soup and lemon dish soap. Mom would be at the kitchen table folding towels that were already folded, smoothing them with both hands like she could press worry out of cotton. Dad would be in his recliner with baseball turned low, one sock sagging around his ankle. "Score?" it asked. HED squint at the television, ask me when they remember how to hit. That was Dad. Even after the heart trouble, even after the doctors started using words like glucose and monitoring, he treated his body like an old truck that just needed a belt tightened. He hated being fussed over. He hated the cane my sister bought him. Most of all, he hated the pill bottles lined up by the sink. On the fridge, a medication chart was written in blue marker. Morning, noon, night, careful boxes, check marks beside each dose. Celeste had made it, because Celeste made order out of everything. She knew which pharmacy had the cheaper copay, which specialist took Dad's insurance, which bill could wait until Friday. She came before work, after work, sometimes during lunch. She bought the sugar-free cookies Dad claimed tasted like cardboard, then caught him eating them over the sink. "Don't give him the oatmeal ones," she told me once, tying a trash bag with a quick tug. "They spike him." I lifted both hands. "Yes, Mom," she smiled, tired but proud. "Somebody has to keep you people alive." And I believed that. We all did. Mom had begun forgetting small things. Whether Shed turned off the stove, whether Dad had taken the white pill before breakfast, whether Shed already told me about the neighbor's divorce. Shed laughed, embarrassed, and changed the subject. Celeste never laughed. She just picked up the loose pieces. I admired her for it. I was relieved by it too, though I wouldn't have admitted that. It was easier being the son who arrived with oranges, fixed the porch light, watched 3 innings with Dad, and left before the real weight of the house settled in. Sometimes Dad would catch me watching Celeste fill the weekly pill organizer. "Your sister runs this place like the Pentagon," HED mutter. "She's good at it." HED looked toward the kitchen, where she was rinsing spoons or arguing with insurance on speakerphone. She shouldn't have to be. I never knew what to say. So I peeled him an orange and handed him the sections one by one. Back then, that house felt warm but safe, the refrigerator humming, towels softly slapped into stacks, the announcer murmuring through another slow afternoon. That blue marker schedule looked like proof someone was paying attention. I didn't understand yet how much fear could hide inside a system that looked like love. The first thing that bothered me was a white pill sitting where it didn't belong. It was a Sunday in late March, the kind of afternoon when the windows were cracked open, but the house still smelled faintly of radiator heat. Dad was in his recliner, rubbing 2 fingers against his temple. "You okay?" I asked. "Just a little swim, he said. "Don't tell your sister or she'll put a helmet on me." I smiled because he wanted me to, but his mouth looked gray. Mom called from the laundry room. "Marcus, can you get your father's evening pills?" Celeste said he needs them with food. The yellow 7-day pill box set beside the fruit bowl, each lid labeled in Celeste's sharp handwriting. I opened Sunday night. I knew most of them by then. The peach one. The blue oval. The big chalky tablet Dad said was made for horses. But there was another white pill. Round and smooth. Scored down the middle. I held it between my fingers. What's this? Dad squinted. They all look like aspirin to me. You been dizzy a lot? He looked toward the hallway before answering. Sometimes after supper. Not bad, Dad. His thumb rubbed the cracked vinyl patch on the recliner arm. Other night, I got up for the bathroom and sort of drifted. Caught myself on the sink. You almost fell? I caught myself, he said, embarrassed. I man's allowed to wobble. Before I could answer, the side door opened. Celeste came in with a grocery bag on her hip, hair pulled tight, eyes tired. She saw the pill in my hand. What are you doing? Getting Dad's meds. There's a new one. She set the bag down. Green onions slid onto the counter. Yes. Dr. Patel adjusted his prescription. When? Tuesday. She took the pill box from me with that brisk carefulness she used when she thought I was in the way. His blood pressure was high. You'd know if you came to appointments. The words landed softly and still stung. I was just asking. And him answering. She tipped the pills into Dad's palm and handed him Mom's glass. Water, not soda. Mom came upstairs hugging a warm towel. What's going on? Nothing, Celeste said. Marcus saw one new pill and got dramatic. Mom gave me a tired look. Your sister has it handled, honey. So I nodded. Dad swallowed. One pill at a time. The yellow lids snapped shut. Neat and final. For the rest of the afternoon, I fixed the pantry hinge and tried not to watch him. But when he laughed at the television, the sound came late, soft and cloudy. Driving home, I told myself it was just a white pill. Still, I kept the radio off. After that Sunday, I started doing something I hated myself for. I started counting. Not tearing through cabinets, not playing detective, just noticing. The yellow pill bottle that had been half full was nearly empty 6 days later. Dad's appointment card on the fridge had tape over the old date, with a new one written in Celeste's test-tight handwriting. Dr. Patel moved it? I asked Mom. She stood at the sink rinsing a mug. I think so. You think? She shut the water off too fast. Your sister handles that. Dad sat at the table with the sports page open upside down. Dad, I said carefully. You know your checkup got changed? He looked at the calendar. Then, at me. For 1 second, his face went blank. Not forgetful. Empty. Like a room after everyone leaves. Celeste told me, he said. When? He rubbed the edge of the newspaper with his thumb. Must have been yesterday. Celeste hadn't been there yesterday. I didn't say it. I just stood by the sink, while Mom dried the same mug twice. The next Saturday, Dad was worse. He asked if my old pickup was still in the shop, though it sold it 8 years ago. He called me by my uncle's name, then laughed too loudly when Mom corrected him. Brain's got too many files, he said, tapping his temple. But his hand shook when he reached for his water. Celeste arrived around noon with her purse, under one arm and a bakery box in the other. She kissed Mom's cheek, checked Dad's blood pressure, then moved through the kitchen like she knew every drawer by sound. From the doorway, I watched her open the cabinet above the microwave, take out 3 bottles, read the labels, and put them back. You're hovering, she said without turning. I'm standing. You're standing loud. Dad gave a weak smile, the kind meant to calm children before they fight. Mom began setting out plates she didn't need. When Celeste stepped outside to take a call, I lifted the lid on the kitchen rash. Coffee grounds, onion skins, 8 or an envelope, then a pharmacy receipt folded once. Dad's name was on it. Below it was a medication I didn't recognize. I searched it on my phone right there by the trash can. My pulse beating in my throat. Mild sedative, drowsiness, confusion, dizziness, increased fall risk in older adults. The side door opened. I shoved the receipt into my pocket so fast it crumpled. Celeste came in with her phone still in her hand. Her eyes dropped to the trash. Then to me. What are you doing now? He crawled up my neck. There was a receipt. A receipt. For Dad. She gave one sharp laugh. You're digging through garbage? I'm trying to understand why he can't stay awake through lunch. Her face tightened, the tiredness turning hard. You come here with groceries and guilt, she said quietly. Because Mom was in the next room. And now you're qualified to audit me. I didn't say that. You don't have to. You show up on weekends, fix a hinge, watch him breathe for 2 hours, then go back to your quiet apartment. I'm here when he won't eat. I'm here when Mom calls crying because she thinks she left the stove on. I'm here when insurance says no and the doctor's office puts me on hold for 40 minutes. Every sentence hit something true in me. I took out the receipt. Then explained this. She barely looked at it. Doctor, Patel knows what HES taking. Is it on the chart? I said it's handled. That isn't an answer. No, Marcus. The answer is you don't get to disappear all week and interrogate the person doing the work. Behind her, Dad coughed. Mom called from the dining room, asking if anyone wanted coffee. Her voice too bright. Celeste stepped closer. If you're worried, come to appointments. Come on a Tuesday morning. Sit with him when he forgets why he's angry. But don't stand in this kitchen acting like I'm hurting our father. Hurting. The word stayed between us. I looked past her at Dad. Asleep in his chair with one shoe half off. His chin on his chest. Sunlight cut a pale line across the kitchen floor. For the first time in my life, my sister felt like someone guarding a door I wasn't allowed to open. 2 Thursdays later, I stopped by after work because Mom said the porch light had burned out. She opened the door in slippers, finger to her lips. Your father's resting. Celeste took him for blood work this morning. It wore him out. The house smelled like reheated tomato soup and old dust. I changed the bulb, tightened the loose bracket, then went to the kitchen to wash my hands. That was when I saw Dad's wallet on the counter. He never left it there. He kept it in the wooden bowl by the back door. Under his keys and a stack of loyalty cards he refused to throw away. The wallet was open. Bank receipt stuck out. I knew I should leave it alone. But worry moved my hand before my conscience could stop it. Cash withdrawal. $800. That morning, a branch near Celeste's office. Dad hadn't driven in months. He got winded standing at the mailbox. Mom came in with 2 mugs. Tea? I held up the receipt. What is this? Her face changed before she answered. Not confusion. Fear. Put that back. Did Dad take out $800? It's your father's money. That isn't what I asked. Tea sloshed over the rim when she set the mugs down. Marcus. Don't start. Start what? She looked toward the hall. That little glance chilled me more than the receipt. Lately everyone looked down the hall before telling the truth, as if the truth were sleeping in Dad's room and might wake angry. Is Celeste taking money from him? I asked. Mom wiped the spill with her sleeve. You don't understand what things cost. What things? Everything, she said, and turned away. Dad appeared in the doorway then. One hand on the frame. His hair was flat on one side, and his gray sweat pants were on backward, the drawstring hanging behind him. What's the noise? He asked. I laid the receipt on the table. Dad, did you withdraw this today? He stared at it. I don't know. Mom shut her eyes. You don't know? He touched his shirt pocket, searching for glasses already on his face. Celeste said we had a thing. What thing? His jaw tightened, embarrassed. I said I don't know. Marcus. The side door opened. Celeste walked in carrying a pharmacy bag and a manila envelope. She saw the receipt, then me. For once, she didn't have an answer ready. What are you doing with his wallet? She asked. I could ask you the same thing. Dad needed cash. For what? Private stuff. I gave a hard, humorless laugh. He doesn't remember going to the bank. Dad sank into a chair. Don't talk like I'm not here. Celeste put a hand on his shoulder. It looked protective. It also looked rehearsed. Marcus is upset, she told him. No, I said. Marcus is paying attention. Her eyes sharpened. Careful. With what? Asking why Dad is foggy. Why appointments move around. YHES being walked into banks for money he can't explain. Mom whispered my name. Celeste reached into the pharmacy bag, touched a bottle, then let it drop back inside. You have no idea what you're accusing me of. Then tell me. She looked at Dad. His hand trembled on the receipt, making the paper whisper against the table. Nobody spoke. That silence felt like proof. I picked up my keys. I'm calling drive. But till tomorrow. Celeste's voice followed me, low and tired. If you make this ugly, don't pretend it was love. I turned back. If there's nothing to hide, ugly won't scare you. Dad stared at the table. Mom covered her mouth. And Celeste, who always knew what to say next, said nothing. I didn't call drive. Till the next morning, I sat in my truck outside his office with the number glowing on my phone. My thumb over the green button, watching strangers carry coffee in laptop bags like the world still made sense. Celeste's words had followed me all night. If you make this ugly, don't pretend it was love. By evening, shame had hardened into something colder. I drove to her townhouse instead of going home. Her porch light was off. A dead fern hung by the door. When she opened up, she was still in her work blouse, barefoot, mascara smudged under one eye. What do you want, Marcus? To talk without Mom listening. I'm tired. So am I. For a second, I thought she had shut the door. Then, she stepped back. Her living room looked like a life had spilled open. Laundry filled the couch. Insurance letters covered the coffee table beside crackers and a cold mug of tea. Near the end table sat Dad's old Navy baseball cap. That cap nearly undid me. HED worn it when he taught me to check tire pressure in the driveway. His hands steady over mine. Celeste saw me staring. He left it in my car. I stayed standing. Tell me what's going on. She laughed once, without humor. You rehearsed that? No. I found the receipt. I saw the withdrawal. Dad is confused half the time. And you keep saying everything's handled. It is. No. It's controlled. There's a difference. Her face tightened. You think I'm stealing from him? I didn't answer fast enough. She nodded. There it is. I think something is wrong. You think I'm drugging our father and marching him into banks. I think you won't explain why HE's taking medicine that makes him foggy. She picked up the mug, then set it down untouched. Her hand shook enough to ripple the tea. You want the truth? She said. He has panic episodes at night. Bad ones. He wakes up convinced someone's in the house. Last month he tried to leave at 2 in the morning. Mom called me crying from the porch because he was in the driveway in his socks. My mouth went dry. Nobody told me. You don't answer after 10. That happened once. It happened enough. The refrigerator hummed in the silence between us. I looked at the letters on the table. Read stamps. Due dates. Deny. Balance remaining. And the cash? She wrapped her arms around herself. He wanted to pay back Mr. Alvarez. For what? The ramp. What ramp? The one Dad made me take down before you came over. He said it made the house look like a nursing home. I hated how clearly I could hear him saying it. He fell on the back steps in March. She said. A guy from church built a temporary ramp. Dad was humiliated. He insisted on paying cash, like it was business and not help. So you took him to the bank? Yes. While he was sedated. Her eyes flashed. Don't say it like that. How should I say it? She turned away and pressed her fingers to her forehead. I don't know anymore. That was the first honest thing she'd said in weeks. And it scared me. I stepped closer. Celeste. No. She pointed at me. But, her voice broke. You don't get to act calm. I've been drowning while you text. Need anything? And wait for me to say no. The words landed because they were true. I should have done more. I said. Yes. She whispered. You should have. Then, for 1 second, I saw my big sister again, the girl who slept on my floor during thunderstorms and told me thunder was only clouds moving furniture. I'm not trying to hurt him, she said. I want to believe that. Then, believe it. I can't just believe it. Not anymore. She wiped her cheek angrily. So what now? Now we stop hiding things. I go to the next appointment. I talk to drive. Patel. We make a real list of every pill he's taking. And if I say no? I looked at Dad's cab. Then, back at her. Then, I call anyway. She stared at me a long time. Then she sank onto the arm of the couch like her knees had quit. You have no idea what that LL do to Mom. I know what silence is doing to Dad. When I left, she didn't say goodbye. But from the porch, I heard a sound from inside, not glass breaking, not furniture, just my sister, low and exhausted, as if she had finally sat down, awaiting, found her hands empty. The appointment was at 10:20. On a Thursday. I arrived at 9:50. As if being early could erase how long I had stayed away. Dad sat between Mom and Celeste, both hands resting on his cane. His plaid shirt was but undrawn near the bottom. Celeste either hadn't noticed or had noticed and let it go. I didn't know which scared me more. Mom wouldn't look at me. Celeste held her cracked phone in both hands, her thumb still. When the nurse called Dad's name, I stood. Celeste stood too. Marcus. No more hallway versions, I said. Dr. Patel shook Dad's hand, asked him the date, the president, and what each he had for breakfast. Dad got to write. For breakfast, he said, your mother made eggs. My grandmother had been dead 15 years. Doctor climbed, without flinching. Then he turned to us. Tell me what's been happening. I set the pharmacy bag from Celeste's townhouse on the counter. She had given it to me that morning without a word. These are the bottles I found, I said. Some are his. Some I don't know. Dr. Patel checked them one by one. Blood pressure, diabetes, heart medication. Then he stopped at a small orange bottle with the label partly peeled away. This one, he said quietly. What is it? A sedative. Low dose, but dangerous with his age and other medication. Mom whispered, Oh, God. I looked at Celeste, anger rising hot and clean. You told me the doctor changed his prescription. I said what I had to say, she murmured. Dr. Patel looked up. I did not prescribe this to your father. The room went still. Then who did? I asked. Dad stared at the bottle like it had embarrassed him. I don't want everybody fussing. Mom stood so quickly her purse slid off her. Appins spilled across the floor, tissues, peppermints, a grocery receipt, Dad's old paper lab bracelet. I only gave him half, she said. I turned to her. What? Her face was pale. He was sleeping. He checked the doors every hour. He woke me because he thought men were in the yard. He cried one night because he thought he had to go to work. Her voice cracked. He hasn't worked since 2018. Marcus. I hadn't slept. I just wanted him to be still. Celeste crouched to gather the spilled things, her hands shaking. Dr. Patel's jaw tightened. How often? Mom looked at Celeste. And there it was. Not Celeste poisoning Dad. Celeste finding out and choosing silence. How often? The doctor repeated. Celeste swallowed. At first once. Then twice a week. Then whenever he got agitated. I took the bottle away. Then why was it in your bag? I asked. Because I was trying to get rid of it before you blew up the family. Her eyes flashed. Then filled. Because she begged me not to tell you. Because Dad cried when I mentioned outside help. Because Mom said strangers in the house meant we'd failed him. The cash withdrawals, I said. Celeste nodded once. Ruth. A woman who sits with him Tuesdays and Fridays. Off the books. Insurance denied coverage. And Mom didn't want anyone knowing. Dad signed the slips half asleep. Mom covered her mouth with both hands. I looked at Dad. He was rubbing the seam of his cane, lost somewhere none of us could follow. My certainty drained out. I had wanted a villain because a villain made fear simple. Celeste stood, with Mom's purse in her arms. I shouldn't have lied, she said. But don't you dare say I was stealing from him. Dr. Patel sealed the bottle in a clear medication bag. This stops today. No borrowed medication. No hidden dosing. If he becomes unsafe or severely confused, you call me or emergency services. Dad blinked. Am I in trouble? That broke me. No, Dad, I said. You're not in trouble. He looked relieved, like a child excused from class. As the blood pressure cuff tightened around his arm, Celeste whispered, "I was going to tell you." I believed she meant it. I also knew she might not have. Outside the window, cars moved through the parking lot in ordinary lines. Inside, my father's pulse thudded through the machine, steady but too fast, telling the truth none of us had been brave enough to say. The week after Dad came home felt like living in a house after a small fire. Nothing had burned down, but every room smelled different. Dr. Patel sent us home with a new medication list printed in large type. The pharmacy packed Dad's pills in sealed morning and night strips, each one stamped with a date. On Monday, I carried the box into Mom's kitchen and set it on a table like something breakable. Then I opened the cabinet. Old orange bottles crowded the shelves, duplicates, expired refills, labels worn pale from too many hands. Celeste stood beside me holding a trash bag. When I dropped the first bottle in, she flinched. "I'm not doing this to punish you," I said. "I know," she answered, though her voice hadn't caught up yet. Mom sat at the table twisting a tissue around her finger. "Your Aunt Linda called. She thinks you owe your sister an apology." Celeste stared at the floor. I set down the bottle in my hand. "I do." I turned to my sister. "I'm sorry I decided what kind of person you were before I knew the whole truth." Her mouth tightened, but she didn't look away. "But I'm not sorry I told Drive Patel." The kitchen went still except for Dad's baseball game murmuring from the living room. Mom's eyes filled. "You embarrassed us." "I know. People will think we called and take care of him." I looked at the refrigerator. A new calendar hung there in black marker said Tuesday and Thursday. Mom's caregiver group Wednesday night. My shift Saturday morning. Celeste off overnight unless she asked for help. "Mom," I said quietly, "we called it." She looked toward the living room, where Dad slept in his chair with one shoe half off and his hand open on the armrest. Her face folded with exhaustion. "I didn't want him to feel like a burden," Celeste whispered. "So we became one to each other." No one argued. It was too true. Repair didn't arrive with hugs or speeches. It came in awkward little tasks. I learned how to take Dad's blood pressure without tightening the cuff until he winced. Celeste gave me the insurance password. Mom went to her first support meeting and came home with a paper cup of bad coffee and red eyes, saying there were other wives there. After the clock started again, the house did not become peaceful all at once. Mom still cried in the laundry room, where she thought the dryer covered the sound. Celeste still answered some of my texts with one-word replies. Dad still had mornings when he asked if his lunchbox was in the truck, and afternoons when he knew my name and complained the coffee tasted like dishwater. But there were no more secret pills. The pharmacy packed every dose in dated strips, and I checked them off with a black marker when I came by after work. Ruth, the homemaid, came Tuesdays and Fridays with crossword books and a soft voice Dad trusted. The new appointment calendar stayed on the refrigerator where everyone could see it. She said I'm not the only one. Mom told me one night after caregiver group, standing at the sink with her purse still on her shoulder. "No," I said. "You're not." She looked at me then. Really looked. "You made me feel exposed." "I'm sorry for how it happened," I said. "I'm sorry I thought the worst of Celeste. But I'm not sorry I told Drive Patel." Her eyes filled. I added, quieter. Silence. Almost cost us Dad. For a moment, only the clock answered. Tick, tick, tick. Celeste came in through the back door with groceries. She had heard enough. I saw it in the way she stopped with one bag against her hip. The old version of us would have turned that pause into a fight. Instead, she set the bag down and lifted out a carton of eggs like they needed all her care. "I was scared you'd hate me," she said. "I did for about 10 minutes. I admitted. That I got scared did lose you too." Her face folded. I stepped closer, unsure if I was allowed. She nodded once. Barely. So I hugged my sister in our parents' kitchen, between the pill strips in the grocery bags, while Mom pressed a dish towel to her mouth. 2 Saturdays later, Dad was awake when I arrived. Sunlight lay across the kitchen table, catching toast crumbs on the edge of his pill strip. He looked thinner, but his eyes were clearer. That clock's been dead, he said, pointing with his cane. The wall clock above the doorway had stopped at 6:17. Maybe months ago. Long enough that all of us had stopped seeing it. You'll fix it, I said. I found AA batteries in the junk drawer under rubber bands, old keys, and a church raffle ticket. Dad watched me climb onto a chair. Careful, he said. It was such a father thing to say that my chest hurt. I changed the battery and set the hands. For a second, nothing happened. Then the second hand jumped and began to move. Tick, tick, tick. Dad listened. There it goes. I climbed down and stood beside him. We didn't say forgiveness. We just stood in the quiet kitchen while the clock kept time again. And for once, nobody pretended not to hear it. From the table, Dad called, "That clock working now?" I looked at the IA battery pack. The sunlight on the kitchen table. The second hand moving. Yeah, Dad? I said. It's working. And for the first time in months, it sounded like we were too.